Begin the current Daf Mesech Kesuvos Daf Samach Hey. You would begin on the bottom of Samach Dam and Beis, 2 lines up at the bottom of the Yomim, where the Gemara continues to explain the halacha of our previous Mishnah, which is if, let's say, the husband is always away and he has to provide for his wife the whole grocery list. So we went through a whole list of things that he has to provide for, and the Gemara continues explaining what are some items that are not included or yes included in what he has to give her to provide for her needs. Shit corresponds to Bekalzech Necheskel to Ensem Dabachaim. Appreciate the journey of today's daf. Should be for Shalema for one of the members of the Chabura, Shalom Yisrael Ben Sarah Gittel, who's in the hospital right now. Should have a refuah Shalema. Some of the things we're discussing today's daf are Hamashra es Ishkoi Alidei Shalish. Like we said, if someone is providing for his wife through a third party, what are his halachic obligations? In place kinyanis leisha. However, if the wife is a drinker, we do not provide for her wine. Actually, Taisa discusses depending on what type of drinker she actually is, but that's not on the list of items that has to provide for his wine. That when someone is staying by a host is forbidden in marital intimacy. If he provides for her a pillow and a blanket. The wife's obligations to provide ma'aseh yadaha, which are specifically woven materials she produces. That's what with tzemer and what type of tzemer we're talking about. Menika mesifin law, some of the important terms and concepts we're discussing today is our menika mesifin law mazayin nisah. A nursing woman we add on to the amount of mazayin she gets. A concept we've said many times. And when a woman gets married to a husband, she only gets upgraded, she doesn't get downgraded. So we said in the Mishnah that, again, we were speaking about Hamashas Ishla de Shalish. The husband has to provide for various foods for her sustenance. So that's what the Mishnah continues. This is on the second line up in the bottom of the Yom Daf base. So we said, kitness, etc. We said a whole list of things that he has to get for her. It says the Gemara makes a diak from something that was omitted from the list of things in the Mishnah. Ve'ilu yayin, but regarding wine, like we didn't say that the husband has obligation to provide that for his wife. Says the Gemara, that supports Rabbi Lazar. Kadam Rabbi Lazar, what does he say? He says, "Ein place kinyanis leisha." We do not provide wine for the woman for her list because wine it stimulates temptation for intimacy, and the husband's not there. He's providing for her, and therefore it's not something that's appropriate to be sending her wine. Every time you're going to say, what is the pasuk in Hosea? The pasuk says, I'm going to go after my lover. The one that gives me my bread and my water. Tzirmi yepishti, my wool and my linen. Shamni, my oil, vishikuyai, and my drink. It sounds like that the lover provides her with the drink. Says the Gemara, no, it doesn't mean wine. It means devarim she'isha mishtoikekes alehem. The word shikuya could be read as a mashko, or from the word of hoshtekekes, the thing that the woman desires. What is it that the lover is providing her? Takshitin, jewelry. That is something that's provided for her. But drink, liquor, wine, that's something that the husband does not give for the wine. Now, Darish Rabbi Yehuda Ishkafar Neberayah, some say it was Ishkafar Nofar Chayil, a different village, that Minayin Shem Poiskin Yanis Lisha, what's a biblical source for the halacha that we don't provide wine for the woman? Shemak, it says the pasuk in Shmuel Aleph. It says, Bartokim Chana got up, Achri Achle B'Shiloi, after she ate in Shiloi, V'Acher Shasoi, and after he drank. It says Shasoi, he drank, V'Loi Shasas, and not that she drank. So why does it switch? To tell you that only he was drinking, the husband Elkanah, but Chana was not drinking, because a woman doesn't drink. It says, if that's the case, when it says Achlo, she ate, V'Loi Achel, and he didn't eat Hachinami, you think that also, that he wasn't eating? Well, like Taisa says, you think you can darshan from here that we don't give mezainis to a man, just like your darshan, we don't give drink to a woman? Like, what does that mean? So the Gemara says, no. Anan, us, medeshani krab b'diburi coming. We were just being medayik, we're inferring from the fact that pasuk changes its wording. Because mechti, let's see, begavo kasik ba'asi, the pasuk was talking about who is the primary character in this narrative, was Chana. My tamishani, why do we suddenly change when you talk about drinking? No, obviously, because to tell us the diuk of shasoi b'lei shasas, he was drinking, not her, because it's not appropriate for the woman to necessarily be drinking, and that's something we don't provide for the woman, is those few bottles of Cabernet a week that's not on the list of things that we're providing for her. Now the Gemara says, the Gemara says, we learn the Bryce like that. The Bryce says, Regila, if she's accustomed to drinking, nice and low. She's got a good glass of dry wine every night when she comes up for work. We give her. So you see that contradicts what was Rabbi Lazar halacha. So the Gemara, no, Regila shani. A woman who's accustomed to drinking, it's not a novelty for her. She's already used to it, and therefore does not really stimulate her so much. It doesn't make her so overwhelmed by it. Because the Amr of Chinda Bar Kahana Mishmuli says, Regila, if a woman's accustomed to drinking, then we give her 1 cup of wine. If she ain't Regila, if she's not used to it, we give her 2 cups. The Gemara says, what? Did I just hear you right? She's used to drinking, we give her 1 cup. She's not used to drinking, we give her 2 cups? Says Gemara, my Kama, what are you saying? So Rabbi says, Nahachim, this is what we're saying. Regila bifnei balam, if she generally drinks in front of her husband, shnei kaises. With her husband, they sit down for a meal, she drinks 2 cups of wine. Then shaloi bifnei bala, then when he's sending her for her grocery list, when he's out of town, then we give her 1 cup of wine. If she doesn't drink in front of her husband, but 1 cup, then shaloi bifnei bala, then, and when she's not with her husband, then we don't give her any wine at all. Which Tais explains that that's how you have to read into the words what he was saying. When we said that she'ein regila, we give her 2 cups, it means if she's not regila, that to give her 2 cups, but 1 cup, and then now when she's not by her husband, then we don't give her anything when she's not in front of her husband. That's one approach. If you want, you could say, which Tais makes it sound like it's going on the brisa. It's not really resolving the contradiction of Shmuel. It's just saying how to explain from the brisa why it's not difficult on Rabbi Eliezer. He says what the brisa means with regila, it doesn't mean that if she's used to drinking, then we give her that cabernet for her to have. It means nice little letzika kedater. It means she needs the wine for cooking the food. The Amr Bavo, Amr Yochanan says, Ma'aseh bekaloseh shel Nakdim ben Gurion. There was a story with the daughter-in-law of Nakdim ben Gurion, very wealthy individual. Shaposkel chacham sasayim yain letzika kedater. They provided her with a certain amount of wine, 2 sub of wine for the cooking wine. That was my Erev Shabbos, that was for weekly. So you see that again, at certain times if she's used to it, a very wealthy woman's going to be cooking with wine, but not because she's drinking, because no, wine is not appropriate for us to be giving the woman. So Amalahan, she said to them, this is how you should also give to your daughters, meaning she was getting a nice quantity. Tana learned the Bryce that actually Shemeres Yab Maisa. This that they said for her mezainis was not that her husband was away and they were giving her a certain amount that she's supposed to get. She's actually, her husband had passed away. And as a Shemeres Yavim, no one was providing for her, so they sent her to get this amount, but they didn't answer Amen. Because although it's a nice bracha that their daughter should also get a nice amount of mezainis, including wine, but not in this type of circumstances that the husband passed away and getting in that situation. Now, Tana, we learned in the Brisa that not enough, and she was giving them like in this backhand way. Yeah, there's different ways how to say what she was saying. Kais echad, 1 cup of wine is yafal isha. That's appropriate. A woman to have 1 glass. Shnayim, 2 glasses of wine, nivelhu. It's already disgusting. Shleisha, if a woman's having 3 glasses of wine, tevas bepes, so she's going to explicitly petition that she wants to have intimacy. Arba, if she's having 4 glasses of wine, afil chamor tevas b'shov. You could even have a donkey asking her for intimacy in the marketplace. She's not going to be particular. Which again, it's you have to be careful how many glasses of wine you're having. Now, Amar Rava, he says, this is leishana el l'sheim ba'ala imo. It's only if the husband's not with her. So she's going out with her friends to the bar, so that's not appropriate to be having so many glasses of wine. If her husband's with her, less lamba, then we have no problem. She could drink together with her husband. So the Gemara says, is that really so? But v'chana, you brought before the story with Chana, and you showed me that it says shasai v'lei shasas. Only Elkanah was drinking wine and not her. But the Balima have it. Her husband was with her. So why wasn't she drinking? You said with the husband she could drink. Says Gemara, oh, that's different. Why? Because Achsano Yishami. That's not where they lived. They were staying by a host, which you can't be intimate. So it's not appropriate for the woman who's going to be stimulated and excited when drinking wine, when they're not going to be able to consummate that anyway. Because Amr Avuna says, how do you know that if someone's as a guest, that they're not allowed to be intimate? It says the pasuk in Shmuel Aleph. It says, so it says after that whole story that they were there in Yerushalayim, they got up in Shiloh, they got up in the morning, they bowed down in front of Hashem. They went back, they went back to their house in Ramot. And it says then Elkanah knew his wife, which is a terminology for intimacy, marital intimacy. Remember that, and then she was with her child, and then she had Shmuel, etc. But it sounds like Hashtain, only now he was intimate with her. He called Allah, originally not, because they were staying as a guest, and therefore that's why she didn't drink. But if they're at home and they're having wine and the wife's with the husband, then it's appropriate. Again, Taisa discusses again what type of woman and how much do we give in general, depending on how much she's used to drinking. Now, the Gemara continues that Chayma, talking about with being provided for their needs regarding wine. So Chayma, that was her name, was the Besud Abaya. She was the wife of Abaya. Asli come into Rava, she came in front of Rava, and Amrullah, she said to Rava, set for me a certain amount of food. My husband's not here. I need to have food. Pasuk Lasi said for her. She said, Psakli Chamra, set me a certain amount of wine rations a week. Amaleh, so he said to her, that was his name, Abaya, that I know by Nachmeni to have a shazi chama. He didn't drink wine. So what do you think? Why am I giving you a certain amount of wine? Amalei, she said to him, you think you know my husband? You think he didn't drink? Chai demar, by the life of the master, we would give him to drink with these tall goblets, ki high, like this. And she was showing by stretching out her arm and her whole to her elbow, she was showing him how big those goblets were, how much he drank. You don't know my husband, he was a closet drinker. But he had this, we don't say like that, but he had, no, you didn't know. Now, when she was showing him this, ikloli dara, so her arm was revealed because she's showing and her blouse moved, whatever. Nafal nahar bebeidina. So the whole court lit up with light because of her beauty. So come Rava got up, Allah Basi goes home, Tava Labas Rav Chizda. He petitions his wife, who is the daughter of Chizda, for intimacy. So Amalei Bas Rav Chizda is in the middle of the day over here, but the daughter of Rav Chizda, or it doesn't say exactly, but she's like suddenly comes home and he's like, so the daughter of Chizda says to him, Man hava in the Beidina, who was today in the court? So Amalei said to Chayma, the base of the Abaya, the wife of Abaya. So Nafka Basra, so this daughter of Chizda, the wife of Rava, gets up, she goes after Chayma, and Machsala Bakul for the Shida, she hits her with the straps of a chest, and she chased out of the whole town of Machayzah. So Amala, she said to her, Katlas Lech Cluster, you already killed 3 men. Because as the Gemara in Yevamis tells us in Avsam Daman Beis, she was married to 3 men and they all died. And you're coming to kill another one? Were you trying to show your beauty that another man should try to jump on, to be and get other men? Chased her out of town, and that's how that story ends. Now another story related is the Besud of Yosef, the wife of Rav Yosef, Bered Rava, who was the son of Rava. Asali came into Rav Nechemia Bered Rav Yosef. He came in front of Rav Nechemia, the son of Rav Yosef. Amalei, she said to him, set me a certain amount of food I need from my husband. Pasuk Law say set for her. She said, Pasuk Lichamer, set for me a certain amount of wine. So Pasuk Law, he said for her, why? I thought women don't drink. So Amalei said to her, I know by the people of Machuzah. Machuzah was a very yuppie, town where people would work and they were always all over the place. The Shasachama, that they drink wine. So therefore, that's something that is appropriate for this woman to be getting her bottles of Merlot, per week, a certain amount of money. Now, additionally, the Besud Rav Yosef Bered Menashe Midvil, the wife of Yosef, the son of Rav Menashe from Devil, Asai Lekamed Rav Yosef. She gave her Rav Yosef. Amrale, she said to him, Siklim Zaini, please set for me a certain amount in the grocery. Pasuk Law, he said it for her. Pasuk Chama, set for me for wine. Pasuk Law, he said for her. Pasuk Shadoi, she said, set for me by also the tailor for a certain amount of silk garments. Somebody said to her, Shadai Lama, why do you need these garments? Amrale, she said to him, a very important social concept. Loch ulechavruch ulechavruch. I need it for you, your friends, and your friends' friends. I shouldn't be embarrassed by people from my original honor in front of all the people. So don't ask me why I need to get this fancy outfit. It's for you and your friends and all there, because I need to be able to have that status. So if it's important for me to have these clothing. Now we said in the Mishnah that if someone provides for his wife to a third party, so some of the things he has to give her, she has to give her a bed. A mapitz is a soft cover bed, and martzelas is a mat. So the Gemara wonders, mapitz and martzelas, these 2 types of mats, lama law, the yavla, what does she need it that he has to give it to her? But a bed generally has a piece of leather that's spread out, better than a mat. So why would he be giving her a mat also? So Amarav Papa, he says that Ba'astud in a higi, to in a place where the custom is the molapurdia b'chavli, that they fill up the bed with ropes. They don't make a piece of leather on the top. It's just woven with ropes. The mevagala, that from the term of begeres, where it would pain her, it would make her old, and if she's laying on these ropes, and therefore we give her these mats that she can lay on, that it won't hurt her so much as these beds that have these ropes. Now, turn about the Brisa, continue on this theme. Ein nice karba kesses. Tanakama says we don't give the woman a pillow and a mattress, a blanket. And Mishra Nassan number in the name of Nassan, they said that nice and low karba kesses, that we do give her a pillow and a blanket. So what's the case talking about? Either orcha, if the norm in her family is that the girls have pillows and blankets, so my time in the Tanakama, what would be the reason Tanakama that you don't give? But I thought oily might be in your edison, she doesn't lose whatever she had before she got married. And if it's not the norm for her family, my time in Nasan, what's the reason of Nasan, that we do give her the pillow and the blanket. So it's talking about going to Orcha Di Day, where it's the way of his way, his family. He sleeps with pillows and blankets. And we know the halacha is oily moy. She upgrades with him. And even though it's not the way for her family. So what's the machlekes? Tanakama held Allah that he tells her, look, Kiyaz Zilna, when I go and I'm going to send you what you need through a third party, Shekil I'm going to take it with me, these pillows and blankets. Then when I come and you're going to lay with me, so I'm going to bring it with me. So I don't need to provide for you this pillow and the blanket. The whole idea of providing is what she's going to need. You're not going to need it because when I'm going to come, I'm going to bring my pillows and blankets anyway. Which it sounds like, but I thought it's oily moy. It sounds like from the Gemara that she only needs it with him. But from Nassan Saber, Nassan holds, Amrli, she says to him, no, it's not true, because you know what's going to happen? Zim did the Mitzrami Bein Hashmashas, at times what's going to happen is that you're going to come right before Shabbos, your flight comes in at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're going to fly in, and you're coming from your apartment to my apartment. But like Matzah's Maislu, you're not going to bring your pillows and blankets, and you're going to take my mat, or like Rashi says, if I bought a pillow and blanket, you're going to take mine. We're not going to sleep around you, and you're going to have me sleep on the floor. Because you're like, oh, I can't sleep without my pillows. I need my thing. And guess what? I'm sleeping on the floor. So they would know, you need to provide for me a pillow and blanket. So that when you come, I always make sure I have it because I know you're going to come in last second. You're going to forget to bring your pillow and blanket. And therefore, that's the machlekes between these two different opinions, if you have to provide for her a pillow and blanket or not. Now, we said in the Mishnah that what he has to give her annually, once a year, is a nice lakipa, so he has to give her a head covering, he has to give her a belt, and shoes every single Yom Tov, and garments of chamishim zuz from year to year. Now the Gemara has a question, Amalei Rav Papa Abaye, as Getindam and Beis. He says, wait a second, Hi Tana, the Tana of the Mishnah, Shaliach Artuloi, he has her stripped, where he's not giving her any garments but once a year, and he's having her wear shoes, because every single Yom Tov he's saying that you buy her shoes, and all the other garments you don't give her a new on every Yom Tov. So what's going on over here? She's like walking with high heels without anything else. You're giving her once a year clothing, and you're giving her three times the amount of shoes. So Amalei says, yeah, the Tana of the Mishnah is b'makom harim kai. They lived in a very hilly terrain. It's not enough without having 3 pairs of shoes for every article of clothing, because they needed shoes. Shoes is very critical because of the mountainous region. Now, parenthetically, the Tana tells us, it's like the husband the wife needs a mixer. So he's like, you know what, for her birthday, anyways, I'll buy her a mixer. It's Yom Tov time. I'll say, oh, we covered Yom Tov. So anyways, give it to her on Yom Tov. Instead of buying her shoes and it comes Yom Tov that she has nothing, buy her every single Yom Tov another pair of shoes, because anyways he needed shoes and needed 3 times the amount of shoes. But we're just saying, when it comes Yom Tov, it's Mimayid Lamayid, because for Simchas Yom Tov, she's like, a pair of shoes, thank you very much. And she has to anyway provide for it, so just might as well kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Now it said in the Mishnah that the Kalim Shalchamishim Zuz. Now garments of 50 zuz worth is how much you give her to get for her wardrobe. So Abaye, he says, Chamishim Zuzi Peshiti. These zuzi that we're talking about, there's 2 types of zuz. Zuz is a currency, but there was the provincial, which is that of the Medina, And then there was what's called tsuri, which the Tyre was the country where that currency was more expensive. So the provincial, the Zuz Medina, was 1/8 of the Zuz Tsuri, where in general, any money from the Medina, the common man's currency, was 1/8 of the Kesuvos Tsuri, as the Gemara says on Daf Yomi, where a Sela Medina, we said, is a half a Zuz, which is 1/8 of a Sela. Says the Gemara Mimai, Abai says, how do I know that it's talking about the cheaper Zuz? That's how much 50 Zuz is. He said, no, you tell me, because what do you learn in the Mishnah? The Mishnah concludes by saying, but remember when we say this halacha of that you provide this amount is ba'ani should be Yisrael, is by the purpose of the Jewish people. We said, but let's say he's a wealthy guy, he's an honorable guy. Then everything according to his on, he's got to give it way more, again, proportionally. Says the Gemara, if you think chamishim zuz means the literal zuz, the expensive zuz, only a poor person chamishim zuz another, where do you think he could afford 8 times that amount of the zuz pshiti is the zuz tsuri? So you think he could provide that amount? Obviously, chamishim zuz pshiti, it means the cheaper. That's how much the chamishim zuz is that the ani should be sold as given. Now, additionally, we said in the Mishnah, the Ein Nois Lo, he doesn't give her loy chadashim v'chulu, he doesn't give new clothing in the summer and old clothing in the winter. No, you give the new clothing in the winter where it's warm, and then the worn-out clothing she wears in the summer where it's not going to be so hot for her, etc., which is really going on the rest of what the Mishnah says. So the Mishnah had said that he gives her a mo of kesef for her needs. So it says the Gemara term in the Brisa, moister mezayna. So this is also talking about the clothing also. But the leftover food, for example, let's say she's a woman, that the amount of food we said in the Mishnah is too much for her. She's not such a hungry woman, she barely eats, she's very thin, and she's not a big eater, like they say. So the leftover food, we have all these packages, what do we do with it? That goes labal, that goes back to the husband. Moisha belois, but the leftover of the worn-out garment, which she has from her wardrobe, she's like, oh, another outfit? Okay, the one from last season was pretty good for me. So that goes leisha, that goes to the woman. So the Gemara says, you tell me the leftover worn-out garments go to the woman. What does she need it for? So Amar Achave says, is they would wear it during their days of menstruation. So that she should not be disgraced on her husband when she's pure, when she's going to wear the same garments she was when she's nida. He's going to see this mitaflek, mitazach, what does I need this for? So she would take the worn-out garments to wear when she's anyways fashmated, and getting all dirty. And then when she's then she wears a nice brand new outfits. That's why it's appropriate to have the worn-out garments. Now, Abaye says, Naktina, we know that Maisa Blois Almana, if a widow that's getting fed from the estate of the orphans, and they have to provide for her also annually garments worth 50 zuz, so the leftover worn-out garments by a widow is liyarsha, that goes to the inheritors, not to the woman. Why? So the Gemara explained. Hassam, when she was married, why do we say she gets to keep the worn-out garments, even though really old leftovers go to the husband? Is because who delayed Tiskani Ba'peh? We don't want her to be disgraced in front of the husband. He's going to be minimus from this dirty stuff. Here, there's no husband. It's orphaned. Let her be embarrassed. What does it do with anything? There's no reason for us to let her keep the worn-out garments. They get to take the shmatas and do whatever they want to do with that. Now the Mishnah said, "Nice lamor kesef." So additionally, we give her a silver ma every week, etc. And we said that he eats with her every Friday night. So the Gemara says, Maya chelis. What does it mean? So this husband who is providing for her, he's always out of town, he's never around, but he has to come home once a week, and he has to eat with her, which actually Taisa says is even the camel driver and the sailor, since they're providing for her through a third party, actually has the obligation of this every Friday night coming back and spending time. So it says the Gemara, Maya chelis, what does it mean eating? So it's two different opinions. Nachman says, means literally, yeah, he eats the Friday night Suda with his wife. So even though he's Alamo, he's always in yeshiva, he's always by the Rebbe, he's always at work, whatever it is, he sleeps at work, he has a bed there, whatever it is. But once a week, you have to come home and spend a meal with the wife. It's from the marital obligations. Rav Ashimi says, no, it means tashmish, it means marital intimacy. So the Gemara says, wait a second. Now we learned in the Mishnah that says, she eats with him Friday nights, this husband provides for her. So we understand according to the one who says it means eating. So the words are, she eats with him. According to the one that says that why is he coming on Friday night is for marital intimacy. What are you saying eating? What's mind eating? It's not eating, it's intimacy. Says no, that's a euphemism. That's a higher, in Judaism, in Yiddishkeit, we always say refined language. We're not so explicit and coarse. Like it says a pasuk in Mishlei. It says, so too is the way of the fornicating woman. She eats and she wipes her mouth. She says, I didn't do anything wrong. Which obviously, euphemistically, a person can understand what this is referring to. But like as if she eats and she wipes her mouth and I'm done, it's a euphemism. It's a type of consumption that we're referring to, but it really refers to tashmish amit. But the Gemara says, Mesa, the Gemara asks from the following brisa. Because brisa says, he says, this Shabbos. He says differently than our Mishnah. Our Mishnah said that the husband's obligation is to eat with the wife Friday night. He says he has to eat with her Friday night and Shabbos by day. Sorry, you can't go to your friend anymore and have that good kiddush meal that starts at 1 and goes to 4. No, it says you got to go eat with your wife then also. So it says the Gemara, so we understand according to the one that says, what does it mean eating? It means literally eating. You understand that he's not only eating with her the Friday night meal, that romantic dinner meal, he's also going to eat with her the Shabbos day meal. According to the one that says it means intimacy, and it's just a euphemism. Eating means tashmish for Shabbos mi'ikah? What do you mean? You tell me the husband who's away all week, he's together with her Friday night and Shabbos by day? But Ravuna says, Yisrael Kedoshim Hein, the Jews are holy people. They don't have intimacy during the daytime because it's embarrassing. The woman, any type of thing that she has in her body, it's out in the open, it's daytime. We don't have intimacy during the daytime. So what are you saying Friday night and Shabbos day? But the Gemara said, but Rabbi said, but if it's a dark room, it's permitted. And therefore, yes, it could be that the husband that's away, that he has an obligation not only to be intimate with her Friday night, but also Shabbos by day, and if it cannot contradict the opinion that says eating means tashmish. Now, we said in the Mishnah, that if she was a nursing woman, then we diminish the amount she has to do for the husband, her minimum for Ma'aseh is reduced, and we increase her mezainis. So regarding this halacha, the Gemara says, that will relate right back, it says, Darish Rab Ulo, Rabba apiska devedesel. So Ula Rabba, the Rabbi Ula Rabba, he gave a drasha by the entryway of the Hasad Nasi. He said the following halacha. It says, although they said there's no obligation to feed your sons and your daughters when they're small, when they're young children. But you have to feed them when they're very young, which Taisa says we actually even force them. And this that we said on the Tez that we can't force, we just make announcements, we try to embarrass that type of a father. But that's when they're older than 6. But younger than that, you have to feed them, we even force you to feed. Says the Gemara, ad kama, to what age? Ad ben shesh. Up until 6, you have an obligation, we force you to feed your children. Says the Gemara, because Rav he says, Katan ben shesh, when you have a child up until the age of 6, yotze be'ed of imay. Meaning, if let's say the father and mother have different obligations, very busy parents, he has his friends, she has her friends, and Shabbos, he has a simcha on the west side of town, and she has a simcha on the east side. So the mother makes an erev to the north, father makes an erev to the south. Who does the child, usually children go after the parents. Who does the child go with? So the mother takes the child with her, and not the father taking it with him. Because the child up until 6 still needs the mother, and therefore the rabbi said that the child goes based on the mother. So obviously, see, up until age 6, the child needs assistance from the mother, and therefore just like the husband has to feed his wife, he has to feed the child because it's included in the feeding of the wife, which you have an obligation for. Says the Gemara, Mimai, how do you know this halacha from? Medik Tani. We learned in our Mishnah. The Mishnah said, if a woman was a nursing woman, that we diminish the amount of work she has to do. We increase her mezainis. Why? My timer. Why are we increasing mezainis? Who cares? So she's working less. That I understand. So she has time off from work. But why are we giving her more food? It is because the child, the baby, the infant, you have to provide for him too. So you see the halacha for Ravasi that about until age 6, who's with the mother? When you're feeding her, you're not just feeding her, you're feeding her baby too. Says, no, that's not a raya. Because maybe the reason why you got to give her more food is for the woman. She is under the weather post birth, and therefore you have to give her more food for her. Says, if that's the case, listen. So he should have just said, if she's sick, then you give her more food. Why are you saying if she's a nursing woman? Say if the principal is about sick because of the nursing, you say she comes sick. So say if she's sick, a sick woman, you got to give her more food. Says maybe this is what it's teaching us. The stam manika is that generally a nursing woman they're weaker, and that's what we're actually coming to teach you. That's why he said in manika. So therefore there's no raya from this teaching of our Mishnah to the halacha of Rav Asi that up until age 6, that you have to feed the baby because you got to feed the wife and the baby's with the wife. Idma, we learned, we actually increase for the woman wine. Drinking wine is actually good for lactation, for the milk, and therefore it's good to provide wine for the woman now that she's a nursing woman. We shall return to the 5th parak, Masechet Kesuvos Parak Alf Pi, which continues to speak about in the next parak, the 6th parak, Parak Metzias Ha'isha, which continues regarding the marital obligations that a husband has with a wife, and regarding the ksuba. So we'll begin the first part of it here. It says the Mishnah Metzias Ha'isha, when a woman finds something, if she makes earnings, that goes labala, that goes to the husband. V'yudushasa, if let's say she gets a yerusha of something, her great uncle passed away and she inherits a few $1 million. So what happens is, the husband, he gets the utility of that money. He eats the payers in her lifetime. I mean, the principle is hers. If she dies when he's still alive, then he's going to inherit her. Now, b'ishaso pugama, if let's say she gets injured and she gets embarrassed and she now is deformed, let's say, she has a pagam in her body, shalah, that goes to her according to our girsa and according to the Tanna Kama. Basically brings a different girsa. And he says, he disagrees, he says, no, if it's a hidden, which Tais discusses, that's both for pagam and for baishas. What does it mean, a hidden for baishas, if it's, let's say, between only them or in front of other people? But if it's a baishas of pagam that's hidden, that's concealed, so lo shnei chalakim, she gets 2 portions, 2/3 of the funds. And he gets 1/3. But as mancha begaloi, but when she has, let's say, this deformity that's out in the open, where it's, first of all, it's his embarrassment. Or look at the wife that he has now. He thought he had some trophy, and now he has someone that's deformed. And also, it's disgusting to him, and he has to tolerate this busha or pagam that she has. So actually, lo shnei chalakim, he gets actually 2 portions, and she gets only 1 portion of the baishas pagam. Now, more of a shaloi, his portion, Yunas in the Yad, he gets right away. Vishaloi, what do you do with her portion? Because we know whatever a woman gets goes to the husband, but meaning at least he gets the pay raise. So you look at it's like the Yerusha halacha. So you look at ben karka. Her portion, actually, what you do is it's like other than the chassan that she gets, which are suspended in the sense of you buy a piece of property, which is hers, but for oichel payers. But he eats the payers when she's still alive. And the principle is hers, so let's say if he divorces her or he dies, she gets it. If she dies, then he's going to inherit her. Now the Gemara wonders, what's the point of this Mishnah? Why are we even saying this? Tanini, we already learned this in the Mishnah on Daf Memvav Beis. We learned, we said the father has rights in his daughter regarding her engagement. Whether it would be with money or with a document or with cohabitation. He merits if she finds something regarding her earnings, but for us he can nullify her vows. He can accept his daughter's get. But the one thing is, you cannot eat the payers that, let's say, she has some Yerusha when she's alive. This is when she gets married to a husband. Yes, the husband has more rights than the father, but you see, whatever was by the father is owed by the husband too. He eats the payers in her lifetime. So essentially, everything you said of the Mitzvah and Maisidayim and the Yerusha and the payers, we already said this in the Mishnah of Memvav. What do you say in our Mishnah? Says the there was one thing that we didn't say, which is what we're coming to tell us in this Mishnah, is B'shasu Pagama Itzuchle. Regarding when she gets embarrassed or when she gets a deficiency in her body, that's Pluto to the Yehuda ben Mesir Rabbanan. That machlik is regarding, does it all go to her, or does he get, depending if it's Beseis or Bagali, how much of a shir does he get? That we didn't say in the Mishnah on Daf above, and therefore that is something that we're telling you a chiddush in this Mishnah. Thank you, anytime.